Hey everybody, welcome to Moon's Family Fishing. I'm Dave and the weather is beautiful. I figured let's shoot a video outside. So before I get into today's topic, I just want to say if you're a YouTube subscriber, come on over to our Facebook page, like it or follow us. There's a lot more content there than goes into these YouTube videos, whether it's funny fishing memes, screenshots, fishing content, bait, etc., etc. There's a lot more over there. Also, if you're new to our Facebook page, just know that I started that maybe 4 months ago, and we have grown 20 times to what the size was in December. So I think we're somewhere around 400 followers and likes right now. And so that's great because this is going to be the first full year on Facebook that we're going to be able to post content and share things with you. So, but let's get into the topic today. It's going to be cold water fishing for bass. 5 days ago, 4 days ago, we got 5 inches of snow. We had the warmest winter on record. I think I got the snowblower out 3 or 4 times. And so really the lakes here didn't get any ice coverage. Those water temperatures, they're elevated a little bit, but it was still cold this winter. So I'm going to give it 2 or 3 weeks before I even try to get on the water. Let those temperatures come up into the low 40s. And I thought about, making the top 5 baits for spring. Okay. And while they'll catch fish, what I think is going to catch you more numbers of fish is your technique, not necessarily the baits. Okay, 40-degree water, 40, 45, moving baits with a medium to fast retrieve, they're not really going to catch you fish. These fish, their metabolism is slow, they're still cold, but they're looking to move up. And as they move up and those water temperatures come up, their metabolism picks up, they become a little more aggressive, and the warmer it gets, the better it gets, as most of you know. So I'm probably just going to focus more on technique. And in low 40-degree water, slow is the rule. That's the rule that I use. Now you can still cover water with a slow technique. And one of the best ways to do that is with a jerkbait. Okay? You launch this out there as far as you can get it, reel it down, and the colder the water, the longer the pause. Generally in 40-degree water, I'm probably going to pause that bait 4 to 6 seconds. Okay? And if you can find them that way, it's great. That's when you want to switch tactics, because a lot of times in the spring, these bass are schooled up. The smallmouth will be anyway. And all of our lakes, rivers, all of our bodies of water have both largemouth and smallmouth. So if you're searching, you get one on a jerkbait, maybe throw it again. They could be suspended. Maybe you want to keep throwing it again. If not, switch up. Throw something like a Ned rig. Okay, get it down there on the bottom. Typically, there's going to be more fish wherever you catch one. They're there for a reason. Okay, there's food there. The other thing I wanted to say was the 3 factors that I use, and this goes for the entire year of fishing, and I don't care what species it is. The 3 most important rules that I use in fishing are number 1, water temperature, number 2, weather, and number 3, depth. Okay, so in 40-degree water, you're not going to want to fish shallow. You might get a lucky day where the sun's out, it's warm, and you'll find a couple roaming up shallow. But generally speaking, the majority of the fish are going to be out deeper. And in 40-degree water, I'm probably not fishing any less than 8 or 10 feet. You know, I'll probably start at 8 or 10 feet and work my way out. The only time that's going to change when the water temperature is that cold is when you get 4 days in a row of 60-degree weather, sun. Those fish, they do want to go shallow. And a lot of times it tricks them into thinking, you know, that the spawn is closer than it actually is. They'll shoot up and they will go shallow, and you can find good numbers if you get 3 or 4 days in a row of 60-degree weather. So generally though, I'm fishing deeper. I'm offshore. Okay. The other tactics that I like to use besides the Ned rig would be a coffee tube. Okay. And like I said before, you don't want to fish fast. The bait fish, they're not darting and running and all over the place. And neither are the bass. You want something that looks natural. Okay. Throw this coffee tube out there. You can drag it on the bottom. Give it a little hop. Let it sit. That looks more natural to them in the cold water environment than anything else will. You can forget about your spinner baits and crankbaits and things like that till the water starts hitting somewhere around 50 degrees. So the other bait I like to use is a rugby swivel head. Okay, this one's a ½ ounce. Okay, you can put a craw on it. You can put a fluke body on it. You can you know, this is a missile 4-inch quiver. Okay, the little tail it shakes. When you drag that across the bottom, that bait will stand up and that tail will go back and forth. And it's something about that tail, when it's swinging like that freely, it draws bites. Use it on a Ned rig as well, but a football head works great. You know, and the biggest thing about fishing the cold water, not just the depth or the water temperature, but the weather conditions. It is really hard to fish slow when you have wind that's adequate enough to push your boat too fast for the technique. And so you may just have to stick with a jerk bait or a rattle trap. But the Ned rig, you know, even with some wind, you can still get away with it. It'll still work well. All right. The other thing that I like is a finesse style jig, you know, with a craw and a skirt, and you know they generate big bites. You drag it across the bottom, and generally when you bring it to a stop, a lot of times that skirt will flare or it'll stand up. Okay, those are good fish attractors. But as that water temperature begins to rise, well, before I go further, another one is a hair jig. Cold water hair jigs, they perform well. Like I said, they're slow. You don't have to put a lot of action into them. You know, you can just swim it. This one here, you know, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got the tip of a Cinco in there. And the reason why I put the Cinco on there is to give that hair some body. It's not that skinny when you don't have it. Or, excuse me, to give it body so that it's not that skinny. Let's just leave it at that. I don't always speak well, but I try. So, yeah, hair jig works great. Downsizing, you know, I've got a little jig head here on a craw. I think that's like a little 1/4 ounce ball jig head. Dragging that on the bottom. Size sometimes makes a big difference, you know, rather than being, I say, a football, a rugby swing head. Sometimes downsizing makes the difference. But as that water, the other thing too, if you're catching them, don't be afraid to switch baits. A lot of times those fish see that bait, and after you've thrown it out there several times, caught a few fish, throw a different bait. That will help you clean up, so to speak, and catch other fish that weren't maybe hitting your jerk bait or something. And you can do that with a drop shot as well. Just a little bait fish minnow. This one happens to be smelt. Okay. A lot of places up here have alewife or smelt, shad, emerald shiners, sculpin, all kinds of little bait fish. Besides your typical perch, sunfish, bluegill, crappie, things like that. But as those water temperatures warm up, they start getting over 45 to 50. A lot of those baits will still work. They'll still catch them. That's what I love about them. But you want to switch up, and fish are starting to roam. They're coming a little more shallow. That's when you want to start throwing maybe your chatterbait, okay, or your fluke. Now the reason why you don't want to throw, I don't throw anyway, in really cold water with the fluke, is because when you use this as a jerk bait, it's gonna dart, and it can be really erratic unless you're able to just really lightly, softly tap that thing, and it just moves a little bit. Okay, generally I don't do that. Now you can take your solid body fluke style baits and do like these guys are with the forward facing sonar, and put yourself a little 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce jig head on there, and fish it over the top. That will definitely work. There's no doubt about it. That tactic is dominating at the top level of bass fishing right now. So yeah, then this, get into your boot tails, 50-degree water, especially with the smallmouth. They're looking to just kill anything moving. A lot of times they're so aggressive. This one here is a little rage tail swimmer, 2.75 on a 1/4 ounce jig head. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention, which I haven't brought it up yet, is a glide bait. Which a glide bait is going to work year round, no doubt about it. You don't want to throw it in the weeds, but you get around those weed beds, things, and so the Berkeley Nessie, okay, something comparable to it. You can pause it. It's got a slow sink. You can twitch it. You can slow retrieve it and then kill it, and that thing will kick to the side. It just has a natural look to it, and basically that's all you want to do from that 40 to upper 40s is natural. Nothing fast, nothing fancy, nothing flashy, especially here in Western New York, where the water is, if it's not crystal clear, it's still pretty damn clear. So it really doesn't start to color up or get stained until about June or the middle of May. But if you're not fishing lakes, let's say you're a shore angler, right now is the time to be out on your ponds, your creeks, rivers. Those bodies of water are going to warm up much faster than the lakes that I fish. Primarily, that's what I fish, okay? Especially for bass. But, you're going to get rain, you're going to get sun, you have longer days of sun. Those smaller bodies of water are going to warm up fast. And now is the time to get out there on those ponds and creeks if you're a shore angler. So, trying to think if there's anything else to add to what I want to say. I'm excited, guys. like I said, we had 5 inches of snow 4 or 5 days ago, and we've had 3 days. Today's the third day in a row of 60-degree weather, and the long-range forecast is showing spring. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a few weeks probably before I get out there and get into it. We've got a lot coming this year, with new things that we're going to do or attempt to do. But yeah, if you're not on our Facebook page, if you are on our if you are following our Facebook page, you're not familiar with us. We're multi-species anglers. Okay, we generally April through November we chase every species there is, but for the most part it's bass. But in the cooler water months or times of the year, we will chase browns, steelhead, salmon, walleye, pike, and we'll be fishing all kinds of different types of water, rivers, creeks, Lake Ontario, the Finger Lakes. So I'm really excited about this year. So hey, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, man. Come join us over on Facebook, Moon's Family Fishing. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff there that doesn't go to these YouTube videos. And our followers, they're nationwide, from Oregon to Florida, all the way up north. And we even have some followers that are from overseas. And that's the best way you're going to be able to comment or ask questions, get to know us. That's primarily where I'm going to answer notifications. I do check YouTube occasionally, but I don't get notifications from YouTube for some reason. They just don't show up. But I do check them periodically. So come on over to Facebook. Man, be looking for some content because it's coming. And so are we. We are coming. Let them fish know we're showing up. We're going to show out. And man, it's going to be a great year. Hey, thanks for checking out the video, guys. Peace. See you later.